Hi, with this video I wanted to make it special to a dear friend of mine that reminded me of that topic of grief and loss. And I haven't been talking or elaborating about it for a few years, maybe, yeah. So I thought it was timing was good. What is the what can be the context of grief and loss in life when we put it into that general perspective of non-duality? It's not two, it's only not me, but it's only a me acting in the middle of seemingly of something that is a whole current. She's not the current because the current has to be inside something else. That's why not two and oneness is so difficult to apprehend, because we can only see as human by contrast. You see my hand because there is a background. You see a movement because something else is still. It's always whatever we see is related to something else that seemingly is separated. In one way separated. It's separated enough to be able to perceive an object, to perceive anything. Because if there is no perceived separation, you cannot see anything, right? Just if you have no reference, it's just the thing. And no reference meaning as an observer, as a observer as well, it really means there is nothing to see and nothing that can be seen. There is no something else. Two and a third point of reference. Okay, that's why it's so not conceptualizable. Sorry again for my English. I hope you bear with me, because I don't seem to create the same kind of videos in French than I do in English, so bear with me. So the thing is, the first point to whatever I'm saying and whatever can be understood under a broader perspective has to be that non-duality of life as being a whole, all-encompassing, not two, and at the same time, so nothing at all. Because it's no outside reference point, right? Only. But because it's so difficult to comprehend, and for a good reason, because if we could see it so clearly, beam, we're out of it, right? So seemingly there's two things happening, always, at least two, whatever and the background, whatever in front and the background, whatever me, another me. If it's only me and no others, I would not even call it me. If it was no other moving stuff, I would not even register as a moving stuff, right? So it's important to have that first foundation, even if it's not intellectually so much understood. The logic of it is out of reach for the mind, but still it can be kind of accepted as a boundary of the mind. Okay, I cannot grasp, but I can stand at the boundary of what it is that is not true. I can go grasp the limit of my thinking that things can be true. But you have to kind of put it in your backpack, that notion, that perspective of things not being separate. Because if you don't, you're gonna go from one dead end to the other. You're gonna heal something and bim, you hit the wall. You're gonna I don't know, grow in a way, but then you're gonna hit the ceiling. You're gonna understand something, have clarity, and then it will just plateau and not go any further because of the fractal law as well. Fractal and irresolvable way reality just show itself. So keep that in the back burner of your mind always. That's why you're on that channel, or all on the non-duality stuff, because that has to be the ground of understanding of everything else to make sense in that kind of perspective. So grief and loss, just first look at it without like judgment or no personal really connection to it. You can see that it's everywhere, everything. You lose stuff, you grieve. People die, are sick, bad stuff happen, you have to leave something behind. It's the story of your life is about grief and loss, contraction and loss and loss and loss. There's this and the other moments where there is no grief and loss. So you can say that in a way, if we just talk about those grief and loss topics, they're present in an ocean of, in a space of their absence. They're there or they're not there. You're happy when there is no grief and loss. You're not happy because there is something else present. It's because those things and others, but to be simple in that video, those two things are not there. So it's not like something on the side of your life. It's not an accident. In a way, it's not something that is just like peripheral. It's not happening like, as an oddity, and then you go on the path of your life. It's the substance and the structure of your life is made of grief and loss. The structure of your identity as me, separate me, my identity of me. I'm like, I'm the green one. I'm green. I'm like this. I had that backstory, and then I've a thing with my eyes, chuk, and no, I've only one eye in my story. You see, everything that makes them apparently different is made of grief and loss. So what do you grieve? Do you grieve the death of someone on the other side of the earth that you didn't know? Of course you can. Let's not go into this. Of course you can, because you care for everybody, and when you hear about it, you just grieve, and that's... I'm not judging that. Don't put that kind of word in my mouth. I'm just trying to understand mechanism. So you don't grieve what you're not aware of. Let's say someone that you don't know nothing about in another side of the earth dies. You don't even know he's dead. You're not going to grieve. there will be no loss. Maybe there is a loss after, when that guy that just died was actually the provider of fresh water for your village. But then it will come into your awareness and you will grieve his loss, because now you know, and you know it's related to you. That was your water that is impacted. You see how it works? So you're gonna grieve the loss of someone, some pet, some whatever, some even some places. Sometimes you leave some place and you grieve the loss of the place, house. You can get attached to objects as well. Some people get attached to object. That should give you the clue of it. You know, there's no intrinsic value. There's no something you should be very, very respectful for the loss, because those things are very. If you lose this, we're going to really feel for you. And other things, oh, this is nothing. We're not going to feel anything if you lose something. You see, everybody has attachment to whatever, and their grieving is valid, whatever. Don't ever go saying to someone that lost maybe his teddy bear that it's nothing, he can find another one. Would you say that if that person lost some family member? No, you would not, because that's taboo. But you see, it's just how you have your belief around it. But for the one that lose what is losing, it can be very, very painful, and you have to validate and understand that it's the pain that is important. It's not what you think of the relationship to the thing that is lost, the thing or the people. You see, we are so judgmental with that. According that's the value, that's good value, not good value. That is why we don't understand what is going on, because we don't see what is important. What is important is the feeling of loss, and whatever it is in the person, that's what it's important. It's important to that person, whatever the object of the loss. See, don't ever forget that, because being like very righteous about this is important, this is not, is horribly violent and untrue and completely I won't judge it, but not nice, right? So let's go back to something that we can all relate to. So let's say you lose someone you love. Classical, you lose maybe the person you were living with. You lose your partner. Why is it so painful? And I use the partner because we're so used again with all those righteous things. Losing the parents happens to everybody at some point, so let's not make it a big deal of it. Losing the kid, it's horrible, and then it's you have the parents and the kids and and there is kind of like a normalized way of thinking about it. And it's the family. People don't even think about it, why, how it came to be, but don't question it. It's more questionable when it's a partner, because that's obviously someone you just met at some point in your life, and that live your life, that could have left you like for someone else, and that would not be as bad, as painful a loss than when they die. If they just were living in a next city and maybe you never see them again, but you would not feel the same pain inside. So what is it about exactly? So we said it has to be personal. You have to have a relationship, special relationship, more special relationship, bigger the grievance and the loss. And it's related to the fact that you will never, you're sure that you will never get it back or see the person back again. It's not like you put it somewhere, because I was talking about a person, but let's say you lose your house, if it's burned down or if it's sold to someone else, it's not the same. Because you can, like, in the back of your mind, you could always like buy it back if you want it. Maybe you will never want it, but it's still a possibility. If the person leaves you and go to the other city, there's always a possibility that you could meet them again. You see, there is a continuity inside your head of the possibility of the correlation of you with that person. You see, you could still be involved with that person. There's a story that can come back. It's like, again, I like the analogy with series. It's like a series. It's the end of the season, but maybe they will do another season. But if they kill the character in the last episode, you won't see them again. You see? The mind likes and thrives and actually survives on continuity of the story of itself with whatever. Because, as I always say, the me cannot see itself with nothing around, and because there's no real little me, the only thing it can do is try to project itself with something else in a story, in time behind the memories, the past, or in the future. I'm going to do this, I'll be there, I'm doing this, I'm see myself like this, I'm validated like this, I'm going there. So back to grief. Grief is losing, let's say, so let's take that example. You lose a partner, you lose what, for whatever duration of time, you were projecting, seeing, defining the image of you with. You are doing this, you are going there, there was a continuity, you knew that in the morning you would do that. It's a kind of habit in a way, like you're doing something as a routine thing. You see that person and you do stuff and they comfort you and you create a kind of dance with them. They're there for you, or they're not happy with that, and it creates a real substance to your identity, because it gives it a feedback that you can expect the next day. That's especially with partners. We have it from parents and kids, but it comes in a way that seems unavoidable because it's family and thing. And a partner, we have more of it. We have the sense of having chosen it, so it feels more like an expression of the will of the little me. So it's even more, it gives it even more substance. And the me, at some point, if we go to that thing of love, would recognize itself. I mean, that was not the me, but in the eyes of the other, you could like have a glimpse of your true nature as the whole thing, not the me. And that create the bond. And the me and the other me is gonna. I invite you to go to my video on the trolls to get an idea of the non-dual me, the dual me. Anyway, the me. So to make it simple to the topic, the the relationship that is created with another, when that relationship is strong, in when I mean strong, is like it's recurrent. It it takes a lot of time in the day. It's not someone you meet one every 3 weeks when you go buy I don't know, some battery at the shop. You know, when it's the more the person is like it's like related in all your action and movement. You have the other one that gives you that feedback, and it might be the two of us against the other. So the identity is very, very um, substantiated by the other, right? It's comforted, it's made real by the other. And then you lose him. He can go, as I said, grief, or even worse, die, because there is no, the me cannot hold to maybe the other's going to come back. So what really happens in that whole thing of it's all one and it's only one consciousness is that that form that was giving you your shape in a way, because you were referencing yourself, you were giving reference to yourself with the other. It's not here anymore. So it creates a real void of it. It's a void of form. It gives like your identity all of a sudden becomes like very, very volatile. It's not as dense. It's like it lose your identity, lose something. That's why you're grieving that substance of yourself that is gone with the other. You still can reference yourself to other point, other people, other family and thing, but that big chunk of reference is gone. So that creates that void of what I am now. I don't have the feedback. I was going there with that person, the person is not there anymore. So what I am. So what is created that in that void that is and lost, that is like if you were amputated from members, actually. That's the best analogy. You lose your legs. You don't know how to walk anymore because you were walking with the other. So you were kind of using the legs of the other person, right? And you lose them. So it's not much about where the other person is going, because in that context, again, the other is just a form and nothing is lost. The only consciousness that was seemingly inside that body or that was animating the body is still there, and it's yours. So it's been the same. So nothing is lost of value, but what is lost is a part of the idea and projection of you, or the projection of you had with that was that person in it, are just like cut off. And here is your door to clarity and understanding. in that grief, if you can connect to that, that you lost actually not someone else, but a part of yourself, but a part of what you think you are. And that can be a way to actually, especially when it's death, to reconnect to the love that you find in the other, that was actually the recognition of your all-encompassing love. There is no giver and receiver of love, it's just love that what you saw at some point, if there was love into the relationship, of course. And but even if it was something else, it's always love anyway. So but then you can reconnect to that, because that part has never left you, never came into your life, actually was just recognized at some point. And then there was a form that was created, that was moving with your form, and then that form is gone. So there can be an opportunity and an invitation for you to see that you're not the form. And in seeing that you're grieving a loss of just something that seems to be you that is not you, so there's no real loss here, and what you long for, you still have, you see. The real stuff is not gone anywhere. And then you can realize what means to be a real stuff and not just a form. You see, so it's a win-win thing. You realize that you lose only a part of you in it, and that actually just a form, and you still can, your body can function anyway, but that you never needed the other form. It was just a way, you see, to show you how you can do beautiful stuff when you focus onto the expression of the form, but as well how you can be completely autonomous of other forms, because you can do nice things, but you don't have to dwell into the pain of it. The pain can be here, but the reality of what you are is always and never moved from everything, because that's what gives life to everything. That what gives form to everything, that's you. And at some point it took the form of the other, and you thought it was someone else that was like giving you something, but it was just like at that point you were dancing with another form of you. And when the form is gone, it gives you the gift of getting to know more of what you are really. That means your real essence. And in that real essence, that what you are, you find the other. You see, it's a win-win. Never left you. I hope it helps a little bit. Thank you.